What's good? What's good? All right, I'm back. Man, I haven't been on YouTube in a long time. I'm excited to be back. It's the Slow Feed Don't Eat podcast. All right, if you've seen one of these before, it's been a while. All right, but I love highlighting people who are just like me, right? Just ordinary people who have come and had success doing something. So hopefully, you guys are excited to be here. We're gonna have a super dope conversation tonight with Camille. Camille has been on the program for a little while now. She joined earlier this year. She's been able to come in, finally cross that line of doing her first deal. I think she's got a phenomenal story. If you're in the U family, let me know in the comments. All right, if you're in the U family, let me know in the comments. She's just got a beautiful spirit. I think this conversation is just going to be phenomenal. We're going to hear about her. We're going to hear about her story. We're going to hear about her first deal. We're going to maybe get a little interactive. If you guys got some questions, we want to make sure that we do that as well. But I want to get Camille up here. I want to have this conversation. I want to really just talk from the context of doing deals is possible. It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your gender, your demographic. None of these things matter. It's just, are you willing to extend forward the effort that's required to get to where that it is that you want to go? So I'm excited to have this conversation tonight, to learn more about Camille, her journey, her story, and to do it here with you guys tonight. So without further ado, all right, let's get Camille up here.
Investing.
I love that. So hold on a second. 53 young. All right, you look phenomenal. The lights is hitting bright.
Thank
All
you.
right, I see you got the mango butter going on. You know the vibes. All right, I like that. So let's talk about this real fast. All right. So how did you even let's just set the stage, right? How did you even find out about wholesaling? You're working a government job. Camille, you know what everybody says about government jobs.
What's
All
that?
right. You get there, you get a cushy check, you go off and to get government benefits and retirement, live a great life. What created this search for more for you?
I
I
actually
actually
stumbled
stumbled
on
on
wholesaling with
wholesaling with
by
by
accident.
accident.
I was
I
on
was on
YouTube
YouTube
and I
and
was
I was
watching
watching
someone
someone
who
who
would
would
kind
kind
of
of
make
make
over
over
of her
of her
living.
living.
And you know
And
how
you know how
YouTube
YouTube
is.
is.
Watch one
Watch one
video
video
and
and
something
something
similar
similar
pops up.
popped up.
And so
And
actually
so actually
yours was
yours was
not the
not
video
the
that
video
popped
that
up. It
popped
was
up. It was
someone
someone
else.
else.
And
And
they were
they
not
were not
speaking about
about
wholesaling.
wholesaling.
It was like a
It was like a
subject
subject
too.
to,
And then
and then
it was pretty fascinating to me. And it eventually, I just started watching more and more. I discovered, wholesaling, and it eventually led me to you.
I love it. I love it. Camille, by the way, I don't know if you have the audio on elsewhere. People are saying you got a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you have it playing somewhere else where you can hear.
No, I don't. I closed out every single window except my email for the link.
All
Should
right,
I,
I think it's
should I
okay.
turn
You
off my
sound
cell
really,
phone?
maybe. I don't know. You sound really great to me. All right, but I'm hearing that there's a bit of an echo. It says it's better now.
Oh, it's
All
better.
right. All right. So you guys let us know in the chat. Is the echo sound better? What do we got? Let us know in the chat. All right. So let's jump into this a little bit more. So you're just randomly on YouTube
Hmm.
looking around. All right. Trying to figure out how to do some different things. You come across wholesaling. What's your first impression of wholesaling? I'm always curious about this. So you come across it. It's something I'm guessing you've never heard of before.
Right.
What's your initial thought when you see this? Like, what is it that you're thinking or feeling?
It was, well, like you said, I'd never heard of it before. I only was familiar with real estate agents or people who flip properties or who have properties for rental. So
So
it
it was
was pretty interesting.
interesting.
I was fascinated. I was so fascinated with it that I just started.
You say interesting, but like, what does interesting really even mean?
Um, it was different. I never heard of it, and so after watching one video, it made me want to watch another one, and it got to the point where driving to work, I was listening to videos. I wasn't yet interested in it. It was just like me doing it. It was just the
Curious.
more I watch, right.
So, all right. So let's ask this then. Who was Camille then? Like what was your day to day like? Who are you? You know, what were you doing, right? You got this government job, but like who were you though, right? Because here's what I've noticed from you being in the U. When I listen to you, I feel like you've like gone on a journey since you started, right? Like you're almost it's almost like you refer to yourself as somebody new. I do that sometimes too when I talk about my story. I feel like become a different, not a different person, but like sometimes my identity has changed over time in different ways. Like
Hmm.
who were you originally when you first came to this? Because we talk about you being an introvert. You claim to be shy
Yes.
and that you don't like talking in public and all this stuff. So how did you get like who were you then?
At that time, like you said, just a full time government worker, would hang out with friends and family on the weekends. Um, Maybe a little dating here and there if I could come across somebody decent.
There you go. There you go.
But that I mean, I was just living the typical life, nothing spectacular. Would travel overseas, family trips and things like that. Um,
I love that. I love that. So you get into this, you know, you're that introverted kind of to yourself, it sounds like, just kind of doing your thing person.
mhm.
And now you fall into the you, right? Like you get into the you, this community that we have built, right? Like we as a group, as a community have built together. So you come across the you. You were on one of my Thursday classes, I'm guessing.
Yes, the webinar. Yes.
All right, so you get on a Thursday class, and look, you know it's a safe space with me. Your first impressions, you get on the web class, and you're like, what?
Well, I was blown away. I mean, I was already familiar with you because I had been watching so much YouTube. I stumbled on you. You were doing a cold call challenge with Aaron Bevins, Quentin Flores, and Keith
Man, yeah, yeah,
Pettigrew.
yeah.
Yeah, three-part series. Each video was like 3 hours long, and I just couldn't get enough. I liked all of your styles, but yours resonated with me the most, and so that would be like in late 2020, and I just followed you on social media.
Oh, so you were following back then.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right, and then you decide to make this jump. You're on one of these Thursday classes. You're like, why not? All right, I've been looking at this thing for a while. I've been paying attention to this guy for a little bit. Kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about. All right, and I can really learn this business. So, first impressions, right? You get into the you encounter the community. I think based on who you tell me that you are, right? Like this introvert that's quiet, reserved. How do you kind of initially enter into the you? And how do you kind of find your way once you get there?
Well, when I entered, it was 18 months later. Okay, so that would have been December last year. And I had dabbled in it, wholesaling a little bit. I decided, like in the early part of 2021, that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I was watching so many videos of regular, plain folk people that were just like me. They didn't have a bunch of letters behind their names, and they were all different ages and all different races. And I looked at them like their story times of how they got their first deal, and I was so inspired. And I remember thinking to myself, doggone it, if those people can do it, I can do it. And so in the early part of 2021, I got my LLC. This is still way before I joined the U. I got
Yeah.
my LLC, I got business cards, I got myself signed up on PropStream. My mother put me on with a local real estate agent, and I was familiar with the double dip method and proposed that to her. And I actually worked on, I think it was in March, a possible potential deal that the agent sent me. It was a probate, and she sent it to me a day before she listed it on the MLS. I used the reverse engineering method to try to get a feel for
Yeah.
what a buyer would pay. Eventually, just to make a long story short, the seller rejected my lowball offer and didn't want to negotiate anymore. The agent was representing me. I personally don't think she tried hard enough, but
So you kind of went one of these routes that we see a lot of people looking to try to go now, right? Where they're like, "Hey, I want to try to wholesale a deal, through a realtor." So you kind of have that experience. Doesn't work out exactly how you anticipate or how you want it to. We fast forward a little bit, into a year or so later, right? Now you're in the U. You kind of start this journey of like information. So like on the coaching call last night, we were talking about a bit of once you get into the program, how do you absorb the information? How do you isolate on what it is that you actually need, for yourself? What I remember about you, right, is you start this journey and process of showing up. And what I mean by that is like you start showing up for yourself at all times, right? Whatever these fears are that you have, whatever these, reservations or, anything, like you just keep fighting through them. I see you on every coaching call. I see you on every Thursday class that I do. If I'm doing part of the disruption or something else,
mhm.
I look forward and I always see you there, right? And you've always been extremely supportive, but you've also become very outspoken also. Where did that fire, or energy come from to like even be at a point where you're willing to do something like this, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I came into the U, I had been suffering with analysis paralysis for at least a year. And so I came in, I'm shy, I'm that type that prefers to be in the background or blend in with the crowd, not really be in the spotlight or the center of attention. But I did show up, on the Monday through Friday morning calls and things. And so I told myself, I said, well, I'm just going to sit in the back, and just listen. I'm not going to say
I'm
anything.
gonna be in the back of the class.
Yeah, I was taking notes and I figured, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm not gonna have to like talk, and speak up and all that. But
So
eventually
let's
that
let's
changed.
talk about that. Where does that come from? It's like often I feel like I see people that do take on that perspective. But hey, I can do this by myself. If I can just get access to the information, I don't need any help. I don't need any assistance. I can just do it myself. Where do you feel like that was coming from for you at that time? Because I think a lot of people have that thought, right? They're like, I'll just go on YouTube University. I'll just use whatever information I can get my hands on. So, what was your kind of thought process then?
Well, I'm a fast learner, so I was confident that I could learn. I just knew I needed the community because doing it by myself wasn't really working. But I just figured, okay, if I'm in here, I'm around these people and I'm posting, I don't have to speak up. I just felt like I could just learn it, do my thing, and not have to be vocal.
And what would you say to that now in hindsight, right? Because I do see you now as somebody extremely vocal, extremely connected with people in the group. You're on the morning meetup calls every morning, all these things. So, like, how has that perspective changed, and what does that mean to you now?
Well, to me, the time that I was busy not being vocal, I feel like I wasted the first several months because it wasn't
Explain
until,
it.
well, because I came in right before Christmas last December. And from that
Okay.
time up until the end of July this year, I was just kind of not really being consistent, just speaking only when I could really muster up the courage to speak. And even on those times, it was really hard. It was really hard. But I feel like that time period, from the time I got in until the end of this past July, I could have been a lot further along if I had been doing things the way I've been doing it in these last several months. I
Okay.
wasn't
So
hooked up with anyone
that's
necessarily.
important.
Yeah, and I was quiet.
So let's talk about that, right? So, what are some of those things when somebody's, because you talk about community? I think community is incredibly important. That's why we've created this community. What are some of those key things that you think is important for somebody entering into any community? or any opportunity that in hindsight you're saying, hey, if I would have been doing these things a little bit earlier, maybe even I could have got a better or different result faster?
I would have had more support because I would have spoken up and said where I was stuck or where I needed help with. I would have received most likely more encouragement because no one's a mind reader. And so if you're quiet, no one knows, what is going on. They don't know if you're stuck. They don't know if you're struggling with some sort of challenge. And they could have helped me, through it.
Yeah. No, that's important. I mean, look, the U is always, we're always about trying to help each other, trying to better each other. You made a comment about community. What does that mean to you right now?
A support system, just a group of people who are a support system. They're encouraging me, rooting for me, helping, just pushing me up, pushing me forward.
I love that. And so, by the way, you guys, hit subscribe on this right now, and send this link to a friend. Like, this is an important conversation we're having. So, people ask me, Camille, all the time, Chris, what is the U? What does it mean that you have community? I feel like struggle to describe it because, it's like it's my baby in a way, you know?
Mhm.
How do you describe community? Like, and when I say describe community, I mean, how do you describe the community of the youth? Somebody on the outside in has no idea about it.
Mhm.
How do you describe it?
Well, to me, it's kind of like a second family who are not blood related. And we share things with each other, not just the wins. We share the problems and the challenges and the struggles. Like we're just there for each other, and not just in the business sense, on a personal level as well.
Yeah, it's the U's an interesting place. All
Hmm.
right. Shout out to all the members of the U family. Um, it's an interesting place. We've got so many beautiful people just from all over, that, like I said a few minutes back, right? Like, have just created an incredible sense of community and connectivity where, like, we're able to get together, we're able to connect, we're able to do business together. So July, you have this shift. What happens in, like, what happens in July? And when I ask what happens, I mean what happens internally, right? Like, what internal conversation are you having at the moment that creates an adjustment?
August 2nd. That was
August.
yeah,
Why do you know this date so well? What happened on August 2nd?
because that's when I decided that I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to be really, really committed and just not be half-assing it like I've been doing.
Did something happen then? Like, what all of a sudden, if that's fair to say, what all of a sudden drove this renewed, like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna get fully committed. I'm gonna get consistent. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. What created that on August 2nd?
You really want to know?
I do. I do. I do.
Okay. I had two accountability partners,
Okay.
and let's just say we were not quite compatible, or
Okay.
they
That
were not
happens.
they were not quite ready to like really start running with it. Okay. And so those two, they were separate team ups. It wasn't a group of three of us. It was me and one person and me and another.
You
So
were
those,
posting this at the time in the group, right?
I think so.
Like, you were posting something about accountability partnership. I feel like I remember that.
Hmm. Hmm. So that fell through, and it was pretty disappointing because I had visions in my mind, because these people were not just my accountability partners. Like we were working on lists together. Okay,
Mm, okay.
teaming up as well. And so yes, I was disappointed, but that is when I decided, which is August 2nd, I decided that I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to let it, because overall, I have a really positive view and perspective of this community. this coaching program. And so I didn't want to let that kind of what do you,
I
damper.
got you. So you're trying to connect with some people. You're fired up. You're ready to go. You connect with some people that don't match that energy.
Right, right, right.
Right? They're not ready and willing to push as hard as you are. And see, that's part of the journey. That's part of the process, right? We're
Hmm.
going to meet people along the way in all shapes, sizes, forms, facets, whatever, that aren't moving at something with the intensity or velocity that we're trying to. And
Hmm.
so you go separate yourself from that. August 2nd, you're like, look, I'm tired of calling y'all every morning, seeing if y'all are getting on the dialer. Y'all aren't following up with no, but let's just be, we keep it real. All right. Because you know what I realized about things, Camille?
Yes.
Whoever you're talking about, all right, I love them. Whoever it is, I have no clue. But you're not saying anything they didn't already know.
Right.
All right. It's, they know that they weren't getting up to cold call. They know that they weren't jumping on the phone to follow up with sellers like that. They know that. Okay. And so you just get fed up. I can see you. I can see you getting a little fed up. All right. You seem like you could draw that line like, hey, what are we doing? All right.
Yeah,
So
but you know what? I told myself I just figured because I just always try to look at the positive side of things, even when things don't work out. Like, what's the message? What's the, what can I learn from this? Okay, and what I came up with is, perhaps they just had some personal things going
that's a
on
beautiful way to look at it.
in their
Yeah,
life.
because that could be true.
Yeah, that just really distracted them and things like that. So I was never mad at those people. I just felt like, oh wow, it's unfortunate this couldn't work out, with us. And I was fine. I didn't hold any animosity, none of that, because that
Yeah.
that don't do me no good to have negativity.
No, and then we got to respect and understand that everybody's running their own race, right? And that doesn't mean they got to run at the same pace as us. So I definitely understand that. So August 2nd, what becomes the new plan?
That's when I decided. I made a decision, as I've told you all on other calls, that I'm gonna charge forward, full steam ahead. I got tired of watching other students, especially ones that joined well after me. They're getting contracts, they're closing deals. I mean, I was happy for them, and I
Let's
didn't
keep
want
it, Camille. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it
what
real. You're happy for them, but you like, hold up.
I did.
Camille,
I
let's be
did.
real. Let's be real. It's the Slow Feed
Okay.
Don't Eat podcast tonight. It's been a few moments in my life where I've seen somebody that at one point was right beside me that not too long later, they're like a rocket. They done shot out of a cannon.
Hmm.
And I'm like, hold up, man. Hold up. What they got going on? What they doing over there that I missed, that I'm not doing, that's somehow working out so well for them, right? Sounds
Hmm.
like you were having one of these moments.
Yeah,
And so
I
it
had a
sounds
lot of
like
those moments.
talk about that though. What is that feeling? I think because I've dealt with this feeling in myself. What is that feeling like? You're in a program like this. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. You see somebody that starts after you, might be 5, 10 people started after you.
Mhm.
They're cashing out checks 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, and you sitting there like, yo, I've been here since December. I'm ready to fight somebody. What's going? What was that feeling? What was that like?
That feeling was like, damn, that should have been me. And
That's exactly right.
I didn't blame nobody because I knew all along it was on me. I was
Right.
never blaming, anything external. I knew I wasn't doing everything that I needed to be doing. I knew I was putting in some effort. Okay.
Mm.
And I remember telling other students on morning calls back then, I kept saying, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm not moving fast enough. And everybody kept saying, oh, Camille, you're doing fine. Just give yourself grace. But see, I knew deep inside,
You knew what you weren't doing.
I knew I was not living up to the full potential. I was not all the way invested. Yes, I was showing up for the calls, and when I could muster up the courage to speak, even with my heart pounding and just feeling all this anxiety, yeah, I was doing those things. But I knew, like, for real, that I could be doing more because I know me. And I know
Yeah,
that, yeah, when I decide to do something, like, I jump in, like, and just go bananas with it. And I wasn't doing that before August 2nd.
that's real. That takes accountability internally when nobody's looking, right? It takes vulnerability as well. I appreciate you sharing that. So you have this moment, gut check moment, and you're like, "Hey, Camille, like what we doing? Right? We playing games. All these people in this group cashing out all these checks,
Mhm.
and I'm playing around. I'm over
Mhm.
here at the government job, knowing I can't get fired. All right, knowing I could come in here acting crazy, they not even gonna do nothing about it. Shout out to the government jobs. All right, shout out to the government job. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Everybody at the government job, why they always act like they so Teflon? They just act however they like. I can't get fired. All
Yeah.
right,
It
so
takes a
you're
lot to
doing
get fired.
takes a lot. All
Yeah.
right, but you have this pivotal moment, August 2nd. You make this adjustment. I think you get it. Is this around when you get this new accountability partner? Am I not mistaken?
No, I didn't have any.
All right. So what do you do then? So now you're
Well, I
shifting.
decided that I was going to let the rest of the group hold me accountable, and that's when I started posting my call stats in the all
I
group.
remember that.
That's
I
when I started.
can I tell you something about that?
Yes.
I remember when you started doing that. I'm looking in the group chat one day and I see you post your dialer stats. And I said to myself, I'm like, okay. I'm like, she's forcing accountability. Like she's putting herself in a position where she's setting a bar in front of everybody.
Mhm.
And like now she's got to go meet it. See, this is the thing about when you start to engage, when you start to put your goals out in front of people, it creates a sense of internal accountability as well. It's not even necessarily for anybody else.
Mhm.
It's just to put it in this public space to show that you're holding yourself or create this internal accountability. You start posting what calls you're making on the dialer, how many warm leads you get, cold leads you get. When you start doing that, what starts to happen?
I Well, actually, in 3 days of doing that, I I was getting hot leads, I was getting warm leads, and I was like, wow, that's fast. It's like only been 3 days that I've been consistent. Like, I don't call homeowners on Sundays, but I'll call them all the other days of the week, like after I get home from work and on my every other Friday off, as well as Saturdays. So I was like, wow, if that's all it took was for me to just start being consistent and start having leads, then I was like, okay. It just encouraged me to keep on.
Right, right. All right. So you're forcing accountability, you're moving yourself forward. How hard was it to really talk to people on the phone?
Well, actually, truth be told, as of the end of February, I wasn't really nervous anymore
Why?
to talk to them, because the very first seller who I had a conversation with back in February, he was the homeowner from hell.
What does
And
that mean? What does that mean?
it was almost as if, and it probably was, it was like he was trying to scare me away and
From trying to do the deal?
and yeah, he was very tight-lipped with information. It was so weird because the call started, he was just getting home, he was telling me about his cat, so I was building rapport, talking about his cat and whatnot. And so then after a minute or two, I go into the reason for my call, and just like that, his whole energy changed. He
So
turned.
you're building rapport.
Uh-huh.
You haven't said I'm calling about trying to buy your house.
Right.
You say that, he ain't talking about the cat no more. What happens? Because we've all come across that crazy, tough seller to deal with. And I think a lot of people fear getting on the phone and talking to sellers because of running into somebody like this. So how did you handle it? Because I know you don't take no shit. So how did you handle it?
Well, see, back then I was nervous. I mean,
Okay.
even before he switched, back then I was nervous to be talking to people. I had my script. He switched it up in a heartbeat, and he said, "Oh, you sound like a wholesaler."
So he's educated on the on the business.
Uh,
He knows what's going on. Because Camille, you know why I'm laughing right now?
why?
Because sometimes I try not to pick up my phone when wholesalers call me about my houses, even though I wholesale, I teach wholesale, I get it.
Hmm.
But when they call me Camille and they somehow I answer the phone and it's a wholesale, I'm like, bro, I'm like, man, I might stop, yo. I'm like, you talking to me about buying my house? You a wholesaler, man? Cut it out. All right. So he hits you with that. All right. He hits you with that. How do you
Hmm.
react? How do you handle it?
Man, I don't even remember what I said, but I kept the conversation going, and it's like the more I talked, it was as if he had my script. Like he knew everything I was gonna say before I said it. Somehow we did manage, and well, his energy changed. Okay, so this is what happened to me internally. He went from being very pleasant, okay, talking about his
Mm-hmm.
cat. He switched it up really quick. I was nervous even talking with him about the cat, but when he switched on me like that in a heartbeat, all my nervousness went out the window real quick. And I realized, okay, oh, he is like this. Okay, let me change up my energy. And I basically matched his energy. Neither one of us were rude to each other. He never called me any names. I didn't call him any. The call ended up being 20 minutes long, and he had that same energy throughout. And so I'm just working through, the script, getting the information that I'm trying to get. He didn't want to tell me how much he wanted
Yeah.
for the house. Oh, you people, you're targeting my zip code. You
He
know,
didn't hit you with the you people.
I know, right? Us wholesalers. I mean, he was just throwing everything at me, but I was just matching his energy, all the
Yeah.
way. And then this is the funny part. He said something to the effect of, oh, well, how many people have you even talked to today? And I
Mm.
said, well, actually, you're the very first person who's answered. And so then he said, "Oh, wow." And so I said, "Yeah, wow." I mean, I was there for it.
You're doing the mirror technique, right? So whatever he's given, you're matching it. You what did it, Camille? I'm 37 now.
Hmm.
I know you're 53. I'm 37. So I'm at that age. It's really starting to hit me. Right. I'm about to be 40. All right. So I can now say like what the kids say. All right. What the kid, you matching energy.
Hmm.
All right. You matching his energy. And then, so things start to progress from there. I see a comment and you start to overcome this fear, right? Of talking to people over the phone. So let's talk about this a little bit. So let's fast forward a bit because you and my brother, all right, Andre St. George, all right. Shout out to Mr. Morning Call, man. Andre every morning inside the U host a morning meetup call every morning, Monday through Friday for students. Where he's morning motivational call. I mean, he's getting people in the group fired up, breaking through traumas, breaking through barriers, like overcoming some of these like fears and insecurities. So you're on the morning call. When does Dre reach out to you?
August 14th, 2 weeks after
You
I
make
had
this commitment.
been.
It's funny how things work. This is 2 weeks after you made that commitment.
Yep, it was 2 weeks later.
All right. You didn't solicit this, right? Now, Andre's a leader in the group. He's done a bunch of deals. He's worked with tons of students, helps people do deals. So you have no clue that he's going to hit you up.
Mm-mm. Nope.
All right. But you know him obviously from the morning calls and everything that he's doing inside the group.
Hmm.
How does he get your number?
During one of the morning calls, he said, "Yo, Camille, hit me up after the morning call." And so I'm thinking, well, what
He
does he
plotting
need
on you.
with me? Yeah,
Yeah, he plotting.
I I was like, okay, why does he?
You feel like the principal done calls you to the office, like, hold
Yeah,
up, like
like
what
I
you
started thinking, oh my God, did I say something wrong? And I started running through my mind, okay, what did I say? Da 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 da. And then we were playing phone tag for like 2, 3 hours after that. So it just made me more on the edge of my seat and whatnot. Like, what
yeah.
in the world? But then we finally connected over the phone, and he said, I see you've gotten some momentum. You being
Oh, he came on there
consistent.
real like,
Uh-huh.
you know how Drake gets sometimes, right? You know how
Yeah.
Drake gets sometimes. When he get into that author Dre mode,
Uh-huh.
right? When he coming real firm, right? So
Uh-huh.
tell me, so he calls you up and he says, "Hey, Camille."
He said, I see you've been consistent, with your calls for the past couple weeks, and I see you've gained some momentum because every time I had a hot lead or a warm lead or even a cold lead, I was putting how many, of
Yep, and in your
happening.
post every day. Yep.
Right. And I had scooped up all these hot leads and all these warm leads.
So he plotting a little bit. He see that report every day in the chat, your accountability report. And he like, hold on, there's some high leads on here.
Mm-hmm.
I see what's happening. So he hits you up like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, me and you need to. So we talk about people coming in the group. We talk about people connecting. We talk about handing deals off to each other, doing business together. How simple, how easy it really is if you practice the process. So, what does he say to you that you believe and buy into and trust? Where you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to work with Dre because Camille, I heard you last week. I think it was you said like Dre stuck with you. All right, like
I didn't
y'all at
say it
the
like
hit.
that.
You know what I'm
I'm
saying.
yeah, I know. You want
Go
me to say
ahead,
what it was? Because everybody was cracking up. I
say it.
I said you could never leave me.
Uh, that's what I'm
Period.
saying.
You can never
That's what
leave
I'm saying. When a woman tell you that, it's only one or two ways that thing gonna go, right? It's gonna be real good. You might be stressed out for a long time, all right? So you tell him, hey, you're not getting rid of me. Dre, that warms Dre's spirit. It warms his heart. I know Dre well. All right. It made him feel warm and fuzzy. I was kind of jealous. I'm like, dang. All right. So you so you get with Dre,
me.
y'all are connecting. Tell me again, right? That first conversation to really kind of establish this relationship. Like, what does he tell you that makes you trust that?
So he asked me like what is my call schedule, and I told him, and he goes, well, I just want to see if there's anything that you need help with. Where can I offer some value to you? And then so I told him, I said, well, I've got all these hot leads and all these warm leads, and I haven't followed up with any of them because I don't I haven't had any type of like negotiating type of conversation. That was the part I was kind of uncomfortable with because I hadn't done that yet. And so I said, well, if you could, well, no, let me back up. So he said he was asking me where can he add value and how can he help me in my business, right? And I told him about all the leads, and he said, well, I could come in, and if you're not comfortable with negotiating, I can do that part and do the dispo. And then he hits me with, okay, so just take like a day or so, think it over, you
He
know,
hit you with the pullback method.
hit me back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the whole time he was saying that, I was just waiting for him to stop talking, okay?
Mm,
Because I already
mm.
knew my decision immediately. Okay.
How?
Because it's Andre. If
Mm.
Andre is coming in here trying to help me, it's a no-brainer.
I'm taking the help.
Right. And so after he said all that, we'll take a day, get back to me, let me know what you decide. After he said that, I said to him, oh, I don't need no time to think about this. And he fell out laughing. He laughed.
So y'all get connected.
Yeah.
All right, y'all build this. What from the outside in, right? It looks like it's become this like beautiful friendship as well, right?
Hmm.
And you guys start, adding value to each other. right? Doing what we really talk about on that web class, right? Talking about doing what we talk about inside the U, which is like, hey, like you got to build some relationships in here. You got to engage. You got to get connected with somebody. Like, let somebody help you and support you. And like, let's make money and do business together. So that relationship starts. What month is this? This is August, right?
August, yeah, middle August.
August 18th, I think you said.
14.
14. So what happens from there? What is your value at? Right? He's saying, "Hey, I'll take care of dispo, I'll negotiate." So you're working the phones, right? Like tell me what you're doing.
Just continue working the phones as I had been doing, for the 2 weeks before he approached me. And then I remembered a seller that I had been dealing with back in April. Okay, and I remember that he had three properties, and I had a local real estate agent who was gracious enough to go out there. And because this was in Pittsburgh and I'm
Mhm.
in Maryland, and she took like about 30 pictures and visited with him and got a feel for him and things like that. But that kind of stalled because that seller, he was dead set on his number. Okay. And so once Andre and I teamed up, I said, well, let me go into batch dialer and change him from whatever the call result I assigned to him to a hot lead, because by then I already had Podio and I
Mhm.
already had batch dialer like tied into Podio, so it would send hot and warm leads to Podio. And I changed him. This is a little hack that I actually discovered by accident somehow.
Tell her, please.
Okay. If you go into the activities tab of a call
Mhm.
that's already taken place, and it has the date and time and the result button, whatever you hit at that time after the call, you can click the result button. It will pull up that window of where you had all your choices and your notes. You can change it to like hot lead, which is what I did, and even all those months later, it pushed it straight to Podio. And so I
Ah,
filled Andre in on what the situation was with that seller, got all the pictures, put all the pictures on a Google Drive folder so he could see them. And he contacted that seller and he got him down $10,000.
like that.
Yeah, I was shocked because I mean, not because I didn't think Andre was capable, but the guy was so on his price and not wanting to budge at all. And so,
Dre was yeah, Dre was hitting him with those thought provoking questions, right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
gets them down 10,000 on a price drop. It sounds like this then makes this a workable opportunity.
Hmm.
All right. And so go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So it sounds like this makes this a workable opportunity. What is then happens, right? Because what we talk about in the handoff process is like, hey, hand the deal off to somebody else that's more experienced, like you said about Dre. Like, let him go find the buyer, let him go do this, let him go do that. Now, look, I know how JVs can get. All right, especially when you're handing it off. Sometimes you can get antsy. You kind of like get scratchy. Like you like, what's going on with the deal? Is it gonna
Oh, yeah.
close? Have we talked to the seller? Are you driving Dre crazy at this time? Are you like over focused on something else, finding more opportunities on the dialer?
Mhm.
What's your level like when you hand this deal off?
Okay, so I mean, he was keeping me up to date, not every day, but but he was keeping me up to date, with the major things about it. And by the way, the seller did accept that $10,000 price drop.
Mm,
He
okay,
did he
perfect.
did accept it, probably because all these months, 4 months went by, and obviously he still hadn't sold with
Sold it. Yeah.
anyone else, right? And so, but I was still surprised though. But yeah, I didn't want to bother him, because I know he's busy with a lot of things, and I didn't want to be a bug. So it was good, that he kept me in the loop enough.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So he keeps you in a loop. Are we in September now?
No, because actually I signed that contract. We got that one under contract.
I love it. So that was your first
And that
contract.
was a week after we teamed up, like exactly 1 week.
All right. So you know I ain't gonna beat you up. So like, all right. So I say squad up. I tell y'all get connected. All right. You ain't really listening to me at first for real. All right. But you know it's okay because most people don't. All right. So you like, hey, I'm doing it my way. I know what to do, even though I've never done it before. I know what to do. I know what's best. Who is this guy Chris to tell me how to do this? And I'm smart, and you are. All right.
Well, no,
So
I didn't think that. Wait a minute now. I
what do you
never
think?
I never thought who are you to tell me.
Tell me what you
I
thought.
just wanted to do it my way. But I
All
never
right.
thought that about. Yeah.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair, fair. You wanted to do it your way,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just got to do it the way it's supposed to be done. All
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So you make that transition like we've talked about. You start handing deals off to Dre. You get your first contract.
Mhm.
I personally, I talk about this all the time in the group. I think we got to celebrate these small wins. I think a win is getting a contract. I think a win is getting on the dialer and starting to have phone conversations with sellers. So you get this first deal under contract.
Mhm.
What's that moment like for you? What's because it's got to be validating. All right, this is something you've been looking at for 2 years. So you finally do it. What does that feel like?
I was on cloud nine. Like my head was spinning because it was like just a week later. And actually I had just told him about that particular seller days prior.
Mm.
So, because I just happened to remember that the guy had 3 properties, and I said, well, let me go into privy and see if he ever did sell them. And once I realized he didn't sell any one of the 3, I changed that call result to hot lead and pushed it. And yeah, my head was
You
spinning.
like, yo, Dre, you better do something. You said to Dre, hey, you better show me you are who you say you are, man. All right. I need a 10K price drop. I want some money. All right. So Dre Dre steps in. All right. Dre steps in, helps facilitate this.
Mm.
Where does the deal end up? This is in Pittsburgh. You're from Pittsburgh, or your family is from Pittsburgh, I think you've said.
My mother's side is
All
from,
right.
yeah.
So there's some kind of I've heard you say before a couple times on calls. There's some like sentimental, emotional
Yeah.
feeling around doing business and deals in Pittsburgh, right?
Mhm.
And I think this property, am I not mistaken, was very close to like where your mother's house was or something like that.
Technically it was in Verona. You're thinking about the second one that we got under contract.
I forgot y'all business is booming. So, all right, so let's jump then. I want to jump to that
Okay.
one.
We jump.
So you get that deal on the contract. Now you're on your second contract. So now you're back on the phones. Confidence has increased. You get this second property under contract.
Mhm.
How does that happen? Did you get it under contract yourself? Did Dre help facilitate that? You guys kind of work together. Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
So I called the seller on September 12th, said my intro, and she says to me, well, why do you want to buy property in this neighborhood? And
Yeah.
so I told her, I said, well, my mother's side of the family is from Pittsburgh, like right from the same zip code where your property is. And I remember visiting my grandparents all through my growing up years, that it was a booming, bustling area. Okay, that part of Pittsburgh. And the stores, corner stores were open, schools were open. But when we were there in February, due to my
Mhm.
grandmother's illness, riding back and forth from the hospital in an Uber, we're riding through the neighborhoods, and the houses there was a tremendous number of houses that were boarded up. The windows were
Yeah.
boarded up, the doors, a lot of them had the blue condemned signs in it. And it made me feel bad, because I thought, wow, I don't remember it looking like this, in years past. So my mother was explaining to me that some of the local schools had closed, and you see the corner stores had shut down because I guess the older people who lived in that neighborhood after they passed away, other people didn't move in. And so it was just like whole neighborhoods abandoned.
Yeah, and that's a problem that's happened, right? That I think is worth kind of calling out real quick. There's a problem that's happened across the country where, like when I was coming up, and I'm sure when you were coming up, right? Like most people didn't venture too far off of where they grew up at, right? Where their parents' house was at, where their grandparents' house was at. Well, now in the world that we're in now, right? Like people move all over, people are all over. And oftentimes, like people inherit these properties, or these properties require upkeep over time. And generally speaking, often people aren't either updating them, or even worse, unfortunately, right? They're not in a financial position to be able to do so. And so these neighborhoods start to deteriorate, unfortunately, right, over time. So you're seeing this about Pittsburgh, but it sounds like you're also seeing, right, that there's opportunity here and things happening as well. You get this second contract. What role are you playing in the deal, and what role is Dre playing in the deal? Because you guys end up getting this thing to the closing table, right?
Hmm.
So talk about that. How did the hands off method really work for you guys in this respective deal?
Well, after I gathered all the information from the lady, and by the way, the property that I was calling her about, after I said everything I said about why I was in that
Yeah,
market, she said, "Well, I don't want to sell that property, but I have this other property," is what it was. And so my role was gather all the information on the initial call, and
yeah.
I just let Andre take over after that. I
That's, that's exactly what you're
let him do
supposed to do.
the rest.
So let's talk about this. All right. This is beautiful, by the way. I love what you just said. And because this is really the U way, right? This is the charged off way. Like, this is how you do hands off wholesaling, at least in the U. All right. And so here you've got a scenario where, like, you've gone through these challenges. You hear about wholesaling in 2021. You finally start to take some action, but you ain't really taking action in the beginning. All right. You have a gut check moment. You try to get some accountability partners. They not running tough with you. All right. But you don't let that start to discourage you. So you go out, push, push, push. You get a new accountability partner in Dre. All right. You're posting your dialer stats every day. It sounds like he recruits you. All right. It sounds like he sees what's happening and goes out and recruits you. All
Mhm.
right. So he comes and scoops you up. Like, hey, come with me. All right. Come with me. So he comes and scoops you up. You start practicing this hands-off process. And look, I'm always on the Thursday class talking about how simple it is. Talking about how it can really be done and anybody can do it. And you don't have to do the entire process. So what's beautiful about what you just said is that you contacted the seller initially. Seller tells you they're interested in selling, right? You get some details and some information about the property, and then you hand that deal off to Andre, have him worry about doing the negotiations, have him worry about dealing with the buyer, have him worrying about dealing with the title company or the seller, just whatever happens. You hand it off to him.
Mhm.
You go focus on getting back on the dialer, creating more opportunities for yourself.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Dre goes and closes this thing. You guys make $9,000. How much did you make just from having that initial conversation with the seller a bit, gathering the information and having the relationship, having engaged in the group, handing it off to Andre? Of that 9,000, how much do you walk away with?
Half, 4,500.
4,500. That's not too bad. I ain't counting your pockets.
No, it's okay.
I ain't counting your pockets, but I'd take 4,500 right now. All right. Y'all show Camille some love in the chat for that, please. Y'all salute her for that. Big her up for that. Guys, that's how simple the process is. She quite literally went, had conversations with sellers, found a seller that was interested in selling, had an accountability partner, had a relationship with somebody more experienced in the group, handed the deal off to them for them to do everything else from there. And she walks away with $4,500 on a $9,000 assignment fee. Camille, in that process in which you did to do your first deal, like you did that initial part, handed it off. What advice can you give to that person that was you 2 years prior? That person that isn't necessarily sometimes working hard enough, or thinks it's more complicated than it is, or thinks they can't do it, or they think whatever. Like, what do you say to that person?
I would say that when I came into the U, because I had been suffering with analysis paralysis for 12 months before joining, somehow I knew that getting in this community would change everything. I didn't know exactly how or when it would happen, but I knew it just felt like that was the missing piece that I really, really needed. And I would say that why reinvent the wheel? Once you are in, if there's a certain process or a certain way that's worked for other people, why not just follow it?
Hey, it's as simple as that, right? If it's worked for everybody else or somebody else, if it worked for all those people that I was watching
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they blew by me in some magical way, well, wait a second. Well, what if in reality all they did is they just figured out how to hand some stuff off to somebody with more experience
Mm-hmm.
and actually go and make some money? If you could go all the way back, and this is always the tough question, if you could go all the way back, what would you have done differently from the very beginning?
I would have done that from the
What?
beginning.
Explain what you mean.
Um, Team up with someone who matched my energy and
Yeah.
do. I would have been consistent. I mean, because who knows how many deals I might have closed had I been consistent right from the start. If I had teamed up with someone right from the start, or hands off, and just even be vocal, like just pushing through all that anxiety. If I had forced myself more to be vocal and reach out for help, it's no telling where I would be right now. But I try not to beat myself up. I say
You
better late
can't.
than never.
Hey, everybody's got their own journey, and I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be at. I'm super proud of you. All right. I sincerely, sincerely appreciate how hard you show up for me, how hard you show up for the community. All right. You're a great hugger. All right. All right. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Not just for all of us in the community, right? But like these stories and conversations, the reason I'm getting back to them, right, is these stories serve as inspiration and motivation to others, because there's somebody right now listening, whether they acknowledge it or not, whether they reach out to you or not, they're feeling right now, before they heard this, how you were feeling in 2021, how you were feeling in 2022, how you were feeling in early 2023. And these conversations is how we create impact and how we create change and how we start to move the needle, not just for ourselves, right, but how we start to help move the needle for other people. So I want to big you up. I want to salute you on that. Where are you going from here? Like, what's next? You've closed your first deal. You've gotten over that hump. That's a crazy feeling. Did
Mhm.
you do a check or a wire deposit?
I asked the title company to make this a check,
I know that's right. You better.
because I'm gonna cover
Why?
this up a little bit, because I wanted to frame it.
Let's go. Let's go. I
Just the
absolutely
first
love
one,
this.
and everything after that can be a wire transfer.
Yo, Camille, I love that. I love the fact that I regret that I didn't do that. You know, I love that you did that. I think is dope. Don't ever forget that moment. It's nothing like the first one. Cause like the first deal, when you close it, it opens up, it unlocks this moment where you start to realize, like, dang, like, wait, a lot of stuff is possible. There's things that I can do, there's things that I can accomplish that maybe my old self, maybe who I was yesterday or the year before, may have never thought it was humanly possible to be able to do this. Now I've done it. It's tangible. Now I can go and look and see this check. I did it. Right. So big salute to you for that. Who do you want to be in 5 years? Seems like a long time, but sometimes it feels like it's not, right? I'm sure sometimes 2021 feels like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking to do in this business 5 years from now?
good question. Well, first, to have closed as many deals as possible. I'm not going to put a number on it.
I
Um,
like that.
to get more familiar and comfortable with creative financing, which I've already started to do. Tim and I are working on a commercial property and a commercial vacant land potential deal, and
Uh-oh.
I've already proposed seller finance, and I persuaded the seller to be open to whatever the
On
options.
the commercial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at you. All right. So you go from first deal. Now you're working on a commercial wholesale deal. Shout out to my brother Tim Park. All right. Tim is always, 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 man, bigging up and supporting other people inside the group and helping people on deals as well. Now you got a commercial opportunity. It sounds like anything you want is in front of you at this point. You're 53 years young. You got nothing but time on your side. No, sometimes it probably doesn't feel like that because I don't. Sometimes I get queasy at 37, but I got to remind myself, and I got so much time left. Right? I got to see that. Like I got so much time left. I think you got so much opportunity in this business. You're gonna do so many incredible things. What's your overall message to somebody? Right? Like there's people watching this that haven't done their first deal yet. There's people watching this that they're not even into you or they don't know where to start or how to start. If you had to give somebody the wholesaler starter pack, I know the old wholesaler starter pack, Camille, was the business card, the prop stream subscription, right? You know, those things. But like, where would you really tell somebody to start? Like, what would be your action steps to somebody?
Okay. My action steps would be, don't try to do it by yourself. You need that support. You need other people who are like-minded around you for that daily support, like to just lean on them, even with personal things. We share personal things and situations with one another as well. But I would say run the play. Is that the phrase? Run the play.
Run the play.
Yeah.
Tell them,
Yeah.
Camille, run the play, man.
Yeah.
Stop playing games.
Yeah, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't go thinking, oh, I have a better way or I have an easier way. Just do it. Just do it. And decide, make a decision, because there's a difference between
Mm,
wanting something and deciding that you're going to really do something. There's a lot of people who say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, but they haven't necessarily really made a decision. And it's like I said on that morning call the day after we close, once you decide you're going to do something, like really, really decide, you're not going to let nothing stand in your way. There's not going to be excuses. It's just not even going to be in your vocabulary. Instead of excuses, you'll be busy trying to find a way around it, find a solution, instead of spending energy, what was me, or, oh, this happened and that happened. Because that's what I do. It's not like everything was so easy for me. It may seem like it and it may look like it, but I had my challenges. I had my times when I was frustrated and
yeah.
disappointed in myself and all that. And oh, the other important thing, since we know life is going to keep happening, okay,
Mm,
there's just never,
is it?
that's right. There's never going to be a time in anyone's life where everything is perfect. And it's like, okay, I got all the time I need to do this. There's no distractions. That kind of stuff is just always going to be the case. And you just have to figure out how to maneuver around it or through it or with it, and just keep doing your business. Like if you have goals that you want to accomplish and you want to get ahead, you just let life happen, let life be life. And if you need to take a short little break, take a short break, but not so long that when you come back, you're starting from square one. And just do it. Just do it.
I love that. I love that. Look, like I already said, I'm crazy excited to see what you do. I think you serve as an inspiration to people in the group. I think you serve as a point of motivation for people in the group. You deserve your flowers. All right, you've done your first deal. You got to, I mean, look, you got to check to prove it. All right, you got it framed up. All right, you can't nobody dispute that. Along the way, was there ever an occurrence for you where like somebody didn't believe in you? Or you felt like you talked to somebody about this and they were like, hey, that ain't gonna work, or you're not gonna be able to do this, or did you just have like a lot of people around you encouraging you, or was this something like you just kept to yourself and you were just trying to get done?
I told a small circle of
Okay.
people, the people who are in my inner circle who um, I know would support me. So if there was anyone that I felt like might not, then I didn't tell them.
That's probably smart, right?
So I was fortunate. My family has been very supportive, as well as my friends. Shout out to you all.
Shout them out. Shout out to the homies, man. Shout out to the homies. All right.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I just haven't had time to hang out, like how we used to do. But
did
they
you tell them you did
understood.
your first deal?
Oh yeah, they
Did
know.
you,
Hmm.
what did they say?
They were happy for me. They were happy, and they were very understanding because I wasn't sure, with my friends what the reaction would be. To me, just not being as available as I
Right.
used to be. So they were pretty cool about it. Very supportive.
I love that. I love that.
And my mother
Can
is my biggest cheerleader. I got to shout out. Hey mom.
Yeah, shout out to moms, man. Shout out to Mama Camille. All right. She's your biggest supporter. What does that support look like?
She, sometimes she would be more excited than me.
What you
She
mean?
believed, well, she believed in me more than I believed in myself sometimes. I mean, I always knew, I could do whatever I put my mind to, but it was as if she saw things in me that I didn't quite yet see myself, that it took me to get to this point, for me and how I see myself to just kind of meet the level of where she was. She was just always there for me. Like, yeah, always.
I love it.
I
100,
guess you know more, you're gonna
110%.
make me cry if I keep on talking.
Hey,
And we
hey,
don't want to
Camille,
do that.
you know how we do it to you, man. We gonna shed some tears, if anything. Especially you dealing with Dre, man. Dre gonna get a tear out of you. All right, that's what Dre is gonna do for sure. Before we get out of here, Camille, anything you want to say to the U family? Anything you want to see to anybody watching this that's not in the U? Like, what would you say to anybody that's trying to get to where you're at right now? It's that feeling, that hit of confirmation of trust and doing their first deal and having that shift. What do you want to leave them with? What do you want to say?
I would say just believe in yourself. Try to build your self confidence as much as you can. Keep it positive. If any negative thoughts creep in your mind, just kind of replace them with something positive, because like we're all human. When things don't quite go your way, just hang in there. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
That's real.
Oh, and then last, because one of my worst fears is regret. Like, I don't want a year or 3 or 5 years from now to look back and still be standing in the same spot when I knew I could have done it. Like, to me, that would just be the worst.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've been journaling this week or last couple of weeks, really about regret quite a bit. What regret feels like, what it means. How do I overcome it? How do I channel it? So wise words, right there for sure. Camille, it's been a pleasure. Look, I'm going to see you tomorrow morning on the morning call. I'm certain. All
Yes.
right. I'm gonna see you inside the U family. I'm certain. All right. Y'all show her some love. Y'all make sure y'all like this, love it, heart it. However YouTube works. I haven't been on YouTube in forever. Hit
Like,
subscribe
comment,
to the
and share.
tell them.
And
Like, comment, and
subscribe.
share. You
Like,
better tell them.
comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Come on, man. Stop playing with us, man. All right. We charged up out here, man. I'm gonna start having more conversations like this with people from the U. if you're in the U, if you've had big success, small success, it doesn't matter. Your story is important. You're meant to motivate and inspire somebody else to get to wherever it is that you're at right now. Some will be reaching out to you. A lot of you guys, you should be reaching out to me to have conversations. This is how we have impact, Camille. This is how we create change and really start to make things happen for somebody. I appreciate you being here with me tonight. I appreciate you doing this. It's my first time back in a long time. I think like a year or so.
Yes.
So I'm happy that you're my first guest back.
Me too.
You got a beautiful story. I'm gonna close it at that. Like I said, I appreciate you being here. I think this conversation was amazing. You see the U family, we show up, right? Like we like the military, man. Like if we showing up, we pulling up real heavy, man. We pulling up real heavy. That's just how the family vibes are. Camille, where can people find you? I see your IG, but I want people to be able to connect with you that may not be in the U. Maybe they want to ask you a question. Maybe they got a deal. Maybe they want to ask you about the U, and if it makes sense for them to even get into the group. How can somebody get in contact with you?
Instagram. If they don't already have my personal information, then Instagram is the
Yeah,
best
that's how you start moving after you close that first deal. Like you ain't
way.
everybody can't get your number. All right. If you already got it, cool. If you
Mhm.
don't, you can hit me in a DM and my people will get with your people. All right. Um, Shout out to Camille.
Oh,
Thank you
Chris, and I
again.
just want to say thank
Please.
you. I just want to say thank you to you. I was shocked and honored when you invited me to be your first guest, back on this relaunch. Because I remember when you used to do these a while ago, and like to me, you're just kind of like larger than life. To me, like I love you. I love everybody in the U. But I just want to say thank you, to you, to Andre, to Tim, to Keith, and all the student leaders, everyone in the U, because I just feel like every single person in the community in one way or another has had a hand in me getting to where I am now. Like I could not have done it by myself. So I just thank you. And I
I
wasn't
appreciate
even
that.
as nervous as I thought it would be.
Well, look, I try to make it easy. I try to make it easy. All right. I
Yes,
love you
you are
too. I
easy to
appreciate
talk
you.
to.
Good, good. All right. I appreciate you being here. I love you too. Look, if you're in the U family, you know the vibes. Make sure you're on the morning call tomorrow morning. All right. 8:30 a.m. in the morning with Mr. Morning Call himself. Business might be going up for Dre. All right. Shout out to Andre. All right. We'll be on the morning call tomorrow. We got a lot of different things happening. We'll be doing more conversations like this. Don't forget, man, slow feet don't eat. Much love to everybody who tuned in tonight. I'll see y'all again soon with another conversation, another everyday success story that could be you as well. Much love. Peace.
Bye.